All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. I just got a package in the mail from Adafruit. Really wonderful tech company, and they delivered the new Raspberry Pi Zero. Raspberry Pi, if you're not familiar, wonderful little Linux machine. And the computer kind of revolutionized people getting into coding and programming and Linux and other things like that. Very, very small computer. I've actually got one over here that I will unplug and show to you. Mine broke, so that's why I'm getting a new one. This is the original Raspberry Pi. Very small computer. No hard drive, runs on SD cards like this. It's got a couple USB ports, all the things you might need for a computer. And that's it. It's basically a computer that's 35 bucks. It fits in your hand. And it revolutionized... Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing over here? You going to be in the video? Revolutionized, small, inexpensive computing. So they've done that a couple times, and they've had a couple of revisions. But now, the day before Thanksgiving, they released the new Raspberry Pi Zero. Made it even cheaper. So this one is not 35 bucks, but 5 bucks. And it is very, very impressive for what you can get. These are all the accessories, and I'll go over these in a minute if the cat doesn't steal them. It's very hard to find them. This was, the company that does this is over in Europe, and they released the announcement early in the morning. So by the time I crawled out of bed at noon on the weekend, I barely knew about it. So I rushed onto the internet and tried to order as fast as I could, and I barely got the last one. Now, I couldn't get mine for 5 bucks. I had to pay a little bit more because, they ding you on all these little accessories. But this is all the stuff that you'll need. We'll go over this real quick. This is a micro USB on this end to USB cable. It's an OTG cable. We'll get into that in a second. Next, you've got a simple USB power brick because it is powered via the USB cable, which they provide one here, just like you'd use to charge your Android smartphone. This one's from Monoprice. Next, you've got a mini HDMI to full-size HDMI, which we'll get to in a second. You've got an SD card, but unlike this model, the other one's a little bit smaller, so you need the micro SD. This is just the adapter, micro SD. And it's preloaded with software, so you don't have to mess around with that. Next, we've got some GPIO headers, which we'll also get to in a second. And then we've got the Raspberry Pi Zero itself. It's 5 bucks if you can actually get one, but they're already back ordered for quite a while. I ordered mine on Thanksgiving. It is now December 2nd, 2015. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. The Raspberry Pi Zero. This is the back of it. It's got their little logo on there, as my co-host jumps into the screen again. That's it. A whole computer right here. Literally fit in my hand. Here's kind of a size comparison to the next one. So they've kind of outdone themselves this year. Granted, this is in a case, but you can kind of get an idea of how thin that is versus how thin this is. I mean, that's incredible. So let's go over it. It has roughly the same specs as the original one. This is not the original one. This is like a second generation one. But it has a Broadcom BCM 2835 processor, which is a single core 1 gigahertz ARM11 processor. It has 512 meg of RAM on here somewhere. So don't be expect to play the new Call of Duty on here or any, high performance gaming. This is a very lightweight Linux, very, very inexpensive computer. Has a micro SD slot, which you'll see right there. Does the same thing as this. This is a full-size SD slot. This is the micro SD slot here on the side. It has a mini HDMI socket, and it'll do 1080p video at up to 60 frames. And that's what's over here on the side if my camera will focus on that. So all the way out there on the left, here is the mini HDMI. So obviously you can't plug that full-size HDMI into it, which is why you'll need... I was thinking the cat took it for a second. One of these. So an adapter. Mini HDMI, full-size HDMI. So you can plug it into a TV or a monitor or something like that. So it's good to kind of buy this kit, unless you already have all this junk laying around the house. Next, over here we have two, as I bump the camera, two micro USB ports there and there. Those are for power and data. And if you look very, very closely, I don't know if it'll be able to zoom in on that. See, USB, you can kind of see that right there, and power. So this one you only use for power to actually power up this device, and the other one is USB. That's why they give you one of these, an OTG cable, which is this very small USB on this end, to a full-size USB cable, so you can plug in, you know, one of these that I use for all my computers. It's a keyboard and a little trackpad over here, all in one. So they get one USB port, but you can plug in a little hub or something like that and have as many USB ports as you need. And that's it. Power, USB, HDMI to connect it to a display, and your micro SD card slot for storage. Then if you want to get really fancy, add expansion boards, you know, install cameras, get real fancy, you'll need the GPIO pins, which is the last thing in here. This. And these pins attach to all of these little sockets here. And then you can connect, heck, just about anything. Screens, different boards, expansion pieces, just about anything you can think of will connect to these GPIO pins. But we'll get into that in a little later. But very impressive. I mean, I have small hands, and that's, you know, the size of a whole computer right there. So pretty darn impressive. I mean, we all know the size of maybe a computer mouse. Here's my computer mouse. That's it. As big as my computer mouse. So that's it. Now it's not, you know, not impressive. You can do lightweight things on it. I'm going to be using it to replace this, which ran my Bitcoin software and servers and other things like that. So I'll probably use it as a small server. But you could use this as anything really. If you want to, you know, run a small Linux computer, there are very lightweight software applications that this can do. You can do a home security system with this. You can there's a whole world of stuff out there if you Google around on the internet for Raspberry Pi. So very impressive little piece of machinery. I mean, a whole computer there, everything that you'd need in a computer. The same stuff you find in full-size computer towers or on your phone or anything like that. But it's this big, and it's $5. That's it, $5. 35 bucks. This is a little bit more powerful, obviously, but $5. That's it. Now, granted, they ding you on all these other things. It comes out to be like 30 bucks. But that was the only way I was going to pick up one because everybody else was sold out. So very impressive. If you're interested in Linux or, you know, just doing some sort of custom project or Bitcoin or, you know, maybe want to, you know, learn some coding or something like that, or I just want to learn about computers in general, this is definitely something that will get your foot in the door. So when they came out with an even smaller version of this, I mean, this is pretty darn impressive for what it provides. And there's plenty of room for expansion, and there's cases that are coming out for this. And I mean, this is very new. So Thanksgiving it was announced. It's now the 2nd of December, and it did arrive. I wasn't going to pay $90 to overnight it from New York, but here it is. So I'm going to hook it all up. Actually, I'll hook it up right here. Got plenty of time, right? You guys ain't doing anything. You're watching me on YouTube. You can't be that busy. So we'll hook it all up. Kind of give you the idea of, you know, it's a little bit bigger once everything's plugged in. So this is the USB port right here. Got your little mini USB. Boom. So that's plugged in. I'll probably plug my keyboard in or something like that over there. One of those little keyboards I showed before. We've got the power cable from Monoprice. At least they provide a nice Monoprice cable. I mean, Monoprice doesn't make the cheapest stuff. They don't make the nicest stuff, but, you know, I wouldn't call it cheap. I'd call it middle of the road, I guess. So plug that into a wall source. That gets plugged into the wall, and this gets plugged into the other end there. Oh, if I can get it. It's kind of fragile, I'd say. So now the devices would be powered on if I had it plugged into the other side. The pins I'm not gonna go through. They just, match up with the many conductors that are up here and allow you to connect a whole bunch of different stuff to it. And I don't have any of that stuff in arm's reach, so I'm not gonna go hunting around for that stuff just yet. As my coworker comes back, she hears me fiddling with little bags. The mini USB, not USB, HDMI, mini HDMI. So you can see that's obviously smaller than a normal size HDMI. Unless you have any mini HDMI cables laying around, which I do. That'll plug in there, and then you can use a normal sized HDMI cable to connect this to a monitor. And then, last but not least, we'll plug in the SD card. And I'm pretty sure I hope this already has software on it. Not a big deal, I have the software already. Nice little micro SD card that you might find in your cell phone, smartphone. That plugs in, I think, that way. Yep, just like that. So we've got everything that we will need if my camera would like to focus. We've got power, a USB for, however we're going to control it. Mouse, keyboard, both. Connecting it to a display with HDMI here, and then storage. So it holds all our software and all that good stuff because there's no storage built into this device. So that's what it would look like. A couple more cables here to connect it to a display. But that's it. I mean, a full computer right there. You connect your USB, you load some software on it, any kind of operating system. You can turn these into little mini arcades that can play old school, Sega games or Nintendo or Atari or all that good stuff. There is 1,000,001 projects that you can do with this stuff, and these Raspberry Pis only get cheaper. I mean, it blows my mind that they could possibly get cheaper than $35. I figured $35, that's as low as you can go. You can't go any lower. All that good stuff, a case, everything, and it's truly a full-fledged computer. But they've done it. $5, and that's it. $5. So if you have all this stuff, that'll save you a couple bucks. If not, you might wind up spending a maximum of $50 maybe, if they really rip you off for all the different little attachments and everything like that. Boy, you are all in the video today. Anyway, that's about it for the video, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Thumbs up for my cat here. Thumbs down if you really don't like the video. Comment if you have any questions or any good stuff like that. I'm going to get this set up and see if I can get my Bitcoin miner back up and running again. It's very quiet over here in the corner over here where I have my Bitcoin stuff just past the camera. So I'll see if I can get that stuff up and running again. Say goodbye to all the YouTube fans. The camera's up here. That's okay. You can't see it. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for hanging around.